Hi, Dan.
Hey Vince, how are you?
Yeah, good. Morning, Joe.
Good morning.
Good to see
Hey,
you.
yeah, thank you. Good to be here.
So tell us where you're up to on this journey. I know you told me some stuff in the email, but I've forgotten about it now already.
Yeah, I oh, I, just over a month ago, I started. Do you know Christine? Um,
Michelle Berger?
yeah,
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah. Oh, I don't know her personally, but I know of her.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I used her book. She's got like
Right.
a
Yep.
um, kind of cracking the first fetter. That was about a month ago, and about 18 days ago that cracked.
Right. Excellent.
One day ago, the seventh cracked. So I am in a real moment of integration right now. Um, I used Kevin's work throughout that process, and the whole thing's just completely unraveled.
Excellent.
Um, so I'm a little bit overwhelmed, I have to admit. My body is um, doing a lot of material coming up. Let's put it that way.
Sure. Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely. I can imagine.
yeah.
Yeah.
So that's where we're at.
Okay. Good stuff. Thank you.
Thanks.
So the way these groups work is really informally,
Yeah,
and it's just encouraged that. Well, the really valuable thing is be authentic with yourself, and I'm sure that's not an issue for you. And be spontaneous with everybody, So
yeah.
if you've got something to say, if you want to say something about what somebody says, just jump in and say it. You don't need to ask permission. Just
Mm,
go for it. Yeah.
sounds really good.
Frequently, what people do is they discover a question or some issue that they want to discuss that's happening for them.
Yeah,
That's not required. It's good even to express any kind of experience. Somebody will identify with that. So these groups are recorded and
yeah,
published on YouTube.
yep.
There's a Friday morning one that's not published. So for
Uh-huh.
those who want a bit more privacy. Uh, but what I find is, I might get anywhere between say 4 and 20 people turn up to a group, but around about a couple of hundred or 100 and something people will look at it on YouTube and get value out of it just watching it.
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, so
yeah,
stuff you say is somebody will identify with for sure, no matter what
yeah,
it is that you say. Yeah.
yeah.
So that's
Awesome.
that's good value. Yeah.
Yeah. I do have a question
Yeah. Go
coming
for it.
in.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I woke up this morning with with some panic out of just kind of the onset of this shift. Um, I think I think I'm afraid that it's going to keep unraveling past the IM at this point.
So what do you imagine will be the result of that?
I'm afraid of I have this dream of this process, I suppose, of getting stable here, cleaning up any remaining trauma, if there's any left, before going over that edge. That's, and I'm afraid that if I go over that edge without doing that, it's going to be too much. I think that's my fear.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, it's so. Why am I laughing? Yeah,
Well, I'm
yeah,
joining you, so something about that's right.
yeah, for sure. Yeah. Wow. So you said the seventh, but I'm imagining you mean the eighth. You know, you're talking about that remnant of I am, or are you talking about
If
that
that,
obsession with no form?
I've realized the no form. That's the one that's got. I'm sitting in I am.
Yeah, yeah,
That's, yeah,
yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So you've got you. Would you do you recognise that you've got some story going on, undefined, in the background, maybe that this so words don't work real well here. With it, this place, if you like, quote
Yeah.
place that you're headed towards, this over this cliff of beyond the I am, that there's some story about that that is that you require some preparation, some
Hmm.
skill, some facility, something to
Yeah.
cope with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's something remaining in that kind of department. Yep.
Mm.
That's the
Yeah,
best
yeah.
I've got to say about that, I think,
Yeah,
at
that's
the
enough.
moment.
That's enough. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the thing is, if you were to get close enough to that story to be able to define it,
Mm.
it would evaporate. You would see it as
Yeah.
ridiculous. You know, that's
Yeah.
probably what I'm laughing at. You know,
Yeah. Yeah.
that the difference between Feder 8 and Feder 1, Feder 1 is, you know, obviously the gross delusion that there's
Yeah.
somebody controlling the show, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Feder 8 is like the impression that can be left after that's gone.
Yeah.
You know, just an impression of I exist, not I am, although it's put down as I am a lot, but it's
Yeah.
really existence.
Yeah.
I exist. It's
Yeah.
very, very subtle, very cobwebby, very, you know, hardly. It's just that kind of tiny little bit. But what it refers to isn't what you now recognise as an illusion.
Yeah. I've
So
learned enough necessarily to know that by now. It's I know that there's nothing really to fear over that
so there's
edge.
also nothing to change. Do you get that one?
Yeah.
Right? You're just going to be telling yourself, oh, it's just water on the road. It's just an illusion of water on the road because of a trick of the light and the brain interacting with that from a distance. It's not really water. It's just a trick of light, a shine.
Yeah.
That's so when you get to it, after you recognize it for what it is, you don't bother to slow down anymore. You don't bother to worry about what might happen when you
Yeah.
reach it.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it's a discovery. You don't tell yourself this stuff. There's nothing you can do to prepare for it. You have to discover that that's the case. What's going to be different when there's no I am left at all? No I exist.
I
Nothing
don't
will be
know.
nothing.
Nothing,
Nothing will be
nothing,
different. Yeah,
but nothing in it. But
yeah.
there's that fear still of the unknown that's at every one of these instances. there's still,
Yeah.
yeah,
So partly a lot of this comes on because it's happened so quickly for you as well.
yeah,
So
yeah,
a lot of people kind of slide into it gradually, and the consequence is that a lot of discoveries at a subliminal level happen on the way,
yeah,
which means that that's not such a big deal when it does happen. Those who it happens quickly for, it is a big deal. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. I think that's where I'm really fixating right now, is on pace, which
Mm.
is very strange in this position
Yeah. Yeah.
where the pace doesn't quite make a whole lot of sense anymore.
Yeah. Well, it
Um,
doesn't. That's right, because obviously time is also an illusion, and
yeah,
so all we
it's
have is
undeniable.
a memory to compare this to.
Yeah,
And while it happens fast, that memory is nice and clear. 6 months down the track, you won't even remember what it used to be like.
yeah. I can't even remember what it was like a week ago or 2 weeks ago at this point.
Yeah.
It's well, yeah, okay.
So here's a big one for you. What you're experiencing right now
Yeah,
is it, is this, is everything.
yeah. And the moment I drop into that,
Right.
it gets very simple.
Yeah. And what takes you out of that moment, or what takes you out of that simplicity?
The
Right. There's
remaining the remaining thinking that's,
well,
well, it's
we have to be careful here.
yeah.
That
Yeah,
that's right from a certain perspective,
yeah,
but there's no in or out of it.
yeah.
Out of it
Hmm.
is in it. How do you relate to that one? Right, so when you've got that panic happening, that's it too.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this idea you've got that you'll reach a place where there's no more panic is a pretty ridiculous story, isn't it?
Yeah. Thank you, Vince.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah.
Joe, I went through a number of periods of serious existential terror, and
Mm,
looking back at it, it seems like it was doled out in like palatable doses. And
hmm.
that, I don't know, it seems like there was and is some kind of intelligence and kind of, I don't know, doling it out at appropriate content
Yeah,
levels.
yeah.
Um, I sent you a message on the side. Did you see it?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah, check. Just look at that before the meeting ends, so you can have it.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah, I resonate with what you're saying there already. That's how it's been this whole process, irrespective of the pace. It's been
It's
appropriate. The experience of it has come as it's needed. I don't even.
Yeah, I find a helpful perspective has been at times for me that it's, I mean, there's a way to look at this, that it's a challenge. And
Yeah.
if you are strong enough to sit and burn in that,
Mm,
you definitely are. It's there's something testing your metal here. Um, yeah, it's terrifying yet safe.
yeah. Yeah. I think it's just going to be sitting in some of that terror over the next couple of days, and I have a feeling there's going to be a bit of that, some somatic material coming up. Can feel it there already. But it's
So one helpful thing that
yeah,
comes to
thank you.
mind is that it's not that.
Yeah.
It's not an it. It's not separate. It is you doing this to you.
Yeah.
But that's not true. That's not right. But from a anyway, it'll do for the moment. But you're not going to do anything to yourself that you can't cope with.
Yeah. Okay.
I like that, Vince. I like that a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah. See, a lot of there are incredible number of habits that we learn throughout our whole life. You know, all these years of how we do things, and those habits are reactions to stories, and that is where the sense of self, tends to take shape. But habits are habits, and a good story is that habits are the brain's way of saving energy. And so they means that we don't have to think about things when we do them. We just do them automatically because they get with a certain number of repetitions, and not many, they become a habit. It's just a good way, a good efficient way for things to get done. You don't think about doing up the buttons on your shirt or tying up your shoelaces. You just do it, Well, we've got all these other habits that are reactions to stories. We've got all these other habits about who Joe is. What does he like? What does he not like? It's automatic that you've got a certain attitude towards ice cream and a different attitude towards miso or something. So all of these things become automatic, and it's the reaction to those stories that makes up the self. Well, all that stuff will still exist. It's just now that we know that it's an illusion, it's not controlling us in the way that it did when we thought it was us. It was the way we are.
Yeah. Yeah. That's getting clearer and clearer. The illusion of trying to change what's wrong.
Yeah,
But
exactly.
it's still had it this morning, nice and strong.
Yeah, and it will come and go.
And I'm sure
Of
it will come
course,
and go.
yeah. Until it doesn't, or until it's more likely to slow down. I don't know that it ever disappears.
Yeah. 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 Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really
No worries.
grateful
Yeah.
for this conversation.
Vince, is there something in your settings that's changed from last week and this week? It's like Dan is permanently pegged as a speaker. And I know it's not my software because I've been in other groups where it's not doing it. It's like if I go to speaker only, it's just Dan, whether he's blacked out or audio muted or anything.
Right.
Or if I
So
go
go
to
go
even
to
to a multi,
gallery. What have you got? Have you got gallery view?
well, if I go to gallery view, everybody's equal, but he still has the green box around him. And then if I go to speaker view, even when someone else is talking, he's
Yeah. Okay. All
he's
right.
still the.
Yeah. That's because of the way I played with the settings.
Oh,
So what?
okay. I thought
Yeah.
maybe he.
I It's really weird. I don't actually know, but I go to speaker view and then I spotlight everybody, and then I go back to gallery view, and then it does that what you say. The green box will stay around whoever
Yeah.
when I said spotlight everybody and it was on Dan. That's why I've got no green around anybody myself here. But yeah, but what that does is it gives me the option to cut out me having a rave and make it a short to put up on YouTube.
Oh, yeah. You told me about
Yeah.
that. Okay. I was just finding out what's. I thought maybe
Oh,
it was something in my software.
yeah. So we've got pretty well everybody with their camera turned off at the moment.
Hey Vince, I'm in Bronx Park right now, but I just wanted to share something.
Yeah, go, Vicky.
So this is really short, but just like yesterday when I was meditating, I realized that I'm the one I'm seeking for, and then I grew a lot more curious about myself, and then I realized that I need to put this self-inquiry as like my like even more of an important practice because there's nothing else that I want anyways.
So would it be accurate to say that a shift in perspective happened?
Yeah, like I'm saying the same things, I'm doing the same practice and it's the same practice, but right now like I just feel like so much more curious about myself because I don't even like I'm not relying on a future partner to complete my life anymore. I'm not relying on and also yesterday I've had fear about being alone or like I had fear about like being like just like with myself, which is kind of tied into this as well. But I mentally decided that even if my parents died and I had no friends, I would still carry on this practice and it will be even more vital to me. So I just made a lot of mental shifts yesterday. So yeah.
Good one. Sounds good.
All
Yeah.
right. Thank you.
And it's a
Bye.
constant discovery, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is. Yeah. I don't know. That's just pretty much all I can say. But yeah, like, I hope you guys have a good session today. I'm gonna leave now. So yeah, bye.
Okay. No worries. Thank you. Hey,
Evening,
Vince.
everyone. How are you?
I'm good. What about you?
I heard you say everyone's camera was off, and I was just taking some cookies out of the oven, so I wanted to finish that before I came on.
Well, here you are. Good with hot cookies you can't eat yet. Mm.
Exactly. Well, they're not for me, they're for a school bake sale tomorrow, so which we'll probably keep one or two for ourselves.
Oh, you have to do that. Yeah.
Taste test, yeah. Ah,
It's interesting how we get trained. I put it that way. I say I can walk my dog and we throw the ball and she loves to run and get it and bring it back to us and she's obsessed with it, you know, so she'll do that. But if somebody else turns up on the path, she'll take the ball to them and drop it at their feet and look at them with pleading eyes until they throw it. And it takes her literally seconds to train anybody to throw the ball for her. Um, and I recognize that last meeting you were there and I was already trained not to ask you to talk.
right. Yeah. Oh, it's probably for my own good. I think frustration is the name of the game lately, for quite a long, well, for definitely for a few weeks. I know I want to talk, but I just don't know what I want to talk about.
Hmm. Well, that's fine. Don't you just find that when you start talking about what you don't know what you want to talk about, that you start talking about what you want to talk about?
That's it. Yeah.
So frustration is something that I'm, at least my version of frustration, I still remember quite clearly. It still happens. So it's not faded. But what's your version of frustration like?
I don't know. I suppose nothing gives satisfaction. Nothing's working. Nothing's happening. Definitely feel like I'm slowing down physically. Kind of uh, frustrated with maybe with the fear around this stuff. Like I've talked before about what kind of with spirituality and where it kind of lands in my body a lot is the heart, and the heart will go crazy sometimes, and I'll think I'm going to die, and then I think back and I remember this has been going on since my 20s, like nearly 30 years, where it sort of manifests in the physical heart with palpitations, racing heart, I'm going to die, and such a huge fear around that. I find myself imagining other people don't have that issue, and wouldn't it be great if when I got afraid, my leg got sore instead somewhere that wasn't my heart, that I could handle, or maybe a headache or shoulder pain or something different. And it's always the fear of the heart, and I'm going to die. Um, I'm sick of it.
So have you thought about how you might actually die? Is it more likely to be
Yeah,
a heart attack than a stroke or a shutdown of other organs?
yeah. I suppose if the mind comes up with the image of just dropping dead from a heart attack, and then I worry about it. So then then I worry about the worrying,
Mm.
that'll make it worse, and stressed, and um, things just seem to be worse the last number of months. Physically drained and tired a lot. So then I think I'm less fit and less able, and so it all just spirals into sort of I'm fucked.
Mm. So your image of yourself dropping dead with a heart attack, that sounds like a pretty good way to go for me. It's going to be nice and quick.
Yeah, yeah. But well, you imagine it'd be quick enough, but
Mm.
I'm not looking to go just yet.
But it sounds like you've got a bit of a concern about getting old.
No, it's not getting old. I mean, if I'm talking about getting old, I would just get old, and I don't want to say I would enjoy it or endure it, but it's like I think it's in one sense it's a privilege to get old. So I'm not concerned that way that, oh, I don't want to get old. I mean, I just don't want to die
Yep,
right
yep.
now.
Okay, yeah, I get it. All right. Good. Yeah. Yeah, as soon as I said that to you, I immediately reflected that it's me that's concerned about getting old, not you. Yeah.
That's okay. Yeah. Yeah.
So with me, with frustration, definitely before, it used to be that I would get frustrated and then that would turn into anger. Does yours transmute into anger at any point, or
Yeah.
does it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I can even today notice that, speaking to some people and just frustrated, and yeah, even with the animals, just getting annoyed, and yeah, anger comes out. Yeah. Yeah.
So is it obvious to you that the anger is easier to words again?
Feel than the
Yeah,
fear.
yeah, exactly. Now, then I was going to say then the frustration, but yeah, but the frustration is better than the fear, isn't it? So
Yeah,
you can see
yeah,
each of these variations is just one that turns up because it's easier to cope with than the previous one. But even the
yeah,
beginning one, whatever the beginning one might be, something that we're not even aware of. But that is also a way of taking us away from something that we fear. And that's something probably doesn't have any substance. It's probably a story. But who knows until we get there, eh?
yeah. I can kind of go down into it and feel like there's probably something in there, like hopelessness or something like that. That I'm putting a word on a feeling that I probably haven't
Yeah, 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 yeah,
maybe felt enough of, but touched into every now and then. The frustrating piece is around the heart, that it always seems to affect me in the heart. And this has been, like I said, I forget and I think, oh, what's wrong with me now? There's something up with my heart. And 2 years ago, I got everything checked out, got things, and there was nothing, it was fine. And then I started remembering, oh, 5 years ago, or 10 years ago, or 20 years ago, lying in bed with a racing heart rate and just panicked terror. Uh, and I'm so pissed off with it at this point. It's just,
yeah. So what if you tell me a metaphorical story, not the physical, not the actual bodily thing. Let's say that thing with your heart is a message to Dennis, a message in a bottle, if you like, but it's a message to Dennis, and it's about the heart. What would be the metaphor? What would be the story, right, about Dennis's heart? What does the heart represent for you?
well, the first thing that comes up is the heart represents life,
Mm, life. Tell me more about life.
being alive, living a life.
Right. So if we use this metaphor, we would say then that this quote quote issue is saying that there's something not quite right about living the life.
Yeah, I'm not sure. It feels like I just need to shake something off or release something, or
Yep.
I could put it one way and just say it's kind of an all emotional repression that's there, but I don't know. Like, I mean, I was listening
Yeah.
the other day, people talking about, one of the girls was talking about all the crying and shaking and emotions, and I was like sitting there kind of jealous, going, oh, I'd love to be able to just do that. I'd love if that was my thing for a while. And I thought, oh yeah, because I've been going on about this sort of emotions and maybe needing to cry. And then I
Right.
thought
Yeah.
something Elad said was, well, maybe it's not, maybe that's the distraction. I go, okay, well, if I don't need to cry, because maybe I don't, maybe it's something else. And I suppose anger came in as a little bit, or the frustration came up.
Hmm.
Um,
So if we use that what you just said to and apply it to this metaphor, this story about that, the idea came to you that there's something inhibiting going on for you. You were envious of the ability to express whatever emotion, and even if it was a negative emotion, that crying and
mm,
letting go, letting it out,
yeah,
was a thing that you wanted to do. And if we come back to our original metaphor, the idea that you you would love to be able to express heartfelt things more, easier, better. Does that how does that resonate for you?
yeah. No, that does resonate. there's a desire for more of a flow through the heart.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. So you could even say to be more loving. How does that feel? More overtly loving.
Yeah, that feels okay. It feels good. But it's like, yeah, but there's something in the way first.
Right. Right.
When
Now.
something else is dealt
Yeah.
with, that will be the natural
Yeah. Yeah. Got
state.
it. Got it. Right. So what I want to do with you is the same that I did with Joe earlier. We want to reframe that to it's that thing, right, that you might even refer to as a shadow or something that you've got in you that you've learned is there now, even though it might have been learned before when you were young. It's there now, and it's not that thing what we need to do is untie the knot that connects us to that thing, and we don't care what that thing is. It's not relevant even. It is just what happened once, or maybe frequently, but once upon a time. It's what happened, and we ended up with this knot, which is our relationship to this thing. It's not the thing itself, it's our relationship to it, how we hold it, right? And what that knot is the I. It is the self that we create every time that knot gets triggered. And so that I doesn't exist. It's an illusion, you know that, right? But the sense of I gets created every time that knot gets triggered. And it's the knot in which the I is. It's not whatever it is there. It's not that shadow, it's not that thing, it's not that blockage, that wall, that cover, that whatever it is there that you have this feeling that would be great if it was to be lifted off and got rid of. It's not that thing. It's our connection to that thing. It's our belief that it actually exists as a thing. And you know what? This knot, it's like a bow. You can just grab the ends of it and pull it and it'll undo. It's not nearly as rock solid, tight as you imagine it is. It's not something that you've got to work out hard to undo. You've just got to recognize that there are a couple of loose ends there, and if you just grab them and pull them, the thing will just flop undone.
What I want to say is, and just to kind of reflect back to what you're saying, because I just want to make sure I hear you correctly, because I'm finding it difficult to listen, just hard to hear. If, are you saying that like I'm creating this knot and then kind of resisting against it to keep a sort of a self going?
Yeah, that's one way to put it. Yeah, I get that. But I don't like that I'm creating bit. Um, it it's true, but it's not helpful, right? So it's because as soon as you say that, well, that's it, I'm creating it, you go, well, I've got to stop creating it, or I've got to undo it, and that's not the way it works. Yeah.
I just realized something. So, because the word you started to use the word not, and that was a perfect representation of how I feel right in my heart here, right in the middle of my chest, and it was like I need to get rid of this knot
Mm.
so I can be free. But it's like this knot is some sort of a deep pain.
Yep. Well, this
Um,
this this knot is you loving yourself. Get that? That's a big one. That's huge. It is you loving yourself. This knot is an attempt by something really unsophisticated, really naive, protecting something that doesn't exist. But it's you loving yourself, right? So the way that knot will get undone isn't by you doing it. It will get undone because you love it. and because you get familiar with it and you discover the details of it in that, in the metaphor, that you will be able to get close enough to see the texture of the string that's tied up, or whatever it is, whatever thread it is that represents the knot. You'll just get really close to that. And as you do that, you'll discover that you've got the ends of it between your fingers, and you can just give it a little tug and it'll undo. And so it's a discovery. There's no work to be done. We're just playing
Yeah.
with a way of looking at it.
Can I just take that metaphor just a little bit further there, Vince?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think that exactly what Vince said. I think you need to allow it. You just need to allow it to be there. And the closer and closer you get to it, it's like looking at something under a microscope. And if you looked at a knot under a microscope, you would just see electrons and you would just see this mess of electricity, and there would be no knot. It'll all just kind of, you'll see its illusory nature, and then it's just not there. And the trick is the mind fuck here is that you might have to do it again and again and again, and with different things
Yeah.
and with the same thing.
Yeah, no, that resonates, Dan. And I'm realizing, well, I know this. I'm doing everything not to feel this. I'm doing everything to distract,
Yeah.
to not sit still, to not meditate, even to just sit and feel. Telly, the phone, whatever I can think of. Um.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hear you. And Vince, when you said what you were saying, it was like the pain or the knot. The way I interpreted it was, and it's kind of the opposite of what you said, but it's the same thing. It's like this pain or this knot is trying to love me, and I won't let it.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. And I loved Dan's description of using the microscope, and it's like what you're doing is playing with different magnifications, but there's also a bit there that keeps on blocking the other end of the microscope so that you just can't see anything. It's just black, because that's the bit that says, oh, no, if you go there, you're going to feel pain. Don't go there.
And maybe this is just maybe. I'll experiment with it, but maybe the fact that I won't go there, that I won't sit with that sensation, or go deeper and deeper into the such microscope, that the heart issue keeps coming up. It's like a, hey, look here.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a message in a bottle for you, for sure.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's Dennis shouting out to Dennis. And what you might find is crazy stories like, if you really let your heart do what it wants to do, you're just going to be an emotional mess in front of everybody all the time. Yeah, which is obviously a ridiculous story. But that can well be the bit that says, don't go there.
Yeah, so sensing into it now, like I know I get the heart kind of palpitations or skip beats, or it'll just kind of go crazy for a minute, and I'll feel electricity down both arms. Um, but it's all actually where the knot is. Actually, when I sense into it, the knot is the stomach, obviously
Okay.
beside the heart.
Right. Yep. And what happens when you can't stomach something?
Yeah, it's reminded me of when I was younger, as a kid and stuff. I used to hate getting sick. Absolutely hated it, and would resist it at all times. And
You mean by
I
getting
remember,
sick, you mean vomiting, or do you mean,
yeah, yeah.
yeah,
Um, it's connected to some sort of,
yep.
yeah, it could even be connected to that feeling of I'm going to die.
Sure. Yep. And you might find that you had an experience as a kid where you got sick and it felt like you were going to die when you got food poisoning or something that was really intense. Who knows? We can make up stories, and that's a fine way to do it too. Make up a story.
It always felt very violent. Some people do that, you might vomit, and it's quite mild and quiet. Mine was very loud, and it's just strange the way it's very loud.
Yep.
The
Yeah.
whole body's encompassed in it. And I was remembering there a while back when I was kind of releasing some emotion sometimes and upset or crying, and I'd start to kind of retch. It's like I'm trying to get something out or get sick and get something out. It's
Yeah.
like the body's trying to
Yep.
expel something.
Yep. And as you retch, the sound comes out as well, and you can't help it.
Yeah. So yeah, I go back into the head and I'm starting to look back. Oh, did something happen? Did you choke? Did something, is there something, back into a story of there's a trauma, the body's trying
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
fulfill close out that loop of whatever.
Yeah. 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 Can you see how that's taking you away from this?
Yeah.
Yeah. But don't try to
Yeah.
stop it. Let it happen. But your seeing will change it. Yeah.
It's really strong, right throughout the conversation, just feeling
Mm.
that space in the middle of the chest or just below the where the
Yep.
ribs split.
Yeah. What came to mind here is that it's the heart wants to express, but the stomach says don't.
Yeah, it's so strange. I talked about the heart for so long, and now I'm starting to go, well, what does the stomach say? Well, I've never spoken about the stomach. The stomach's never had a voice, or what even does that organ represent? What's it's all kind of, I know I'm back in the head again, but even just to feel into the stomach, and
Yeah, but
it's
that's yeah. The pain in the head is fine because you see it, and that will take you to the other thing. Yeah. So what I love organ language. What organ language comes to mind for you when you think of the stomach? I think of, something I can't stomach. That's a way of putting a metaphor over the physical organ. What comes to mind for you when you think of the stomach?
comes up as, and again, I'm being general, but it's I'm sick of this, or I'm sick of that, or I'm sick of that situation, or
Yeah.
sick of
Yeah.
coming, day-to-day things, even with one of our new dogs coming down in the morning and there's poo and pee, and I'm sick of cleaning it up, and I just that
Okay.
seems to be a narrative.
Yep. So the word disgust comes to mind here when you say those things. Does that resonate for you?
I'm not sure what I would. I'm just trying to looking into what would I be disgusted with.
Yeah, that's the head though again. What does the word bring up for you? Does it bring up a feeling at all? Maybe it's not appropriate. It's just what came to mind here. If you're sick of this and sick of that and sick of everything else, you're a bit disgusted with the whole thing. But that might be going in the wrong direction. Who knows?
Yeah, maybe it's tied into that sort of starting to see the lack of control in things, and even in
Mm.
work, kind of making some mistakes, and then seeing later on I read something completely wrong and I got it wrong, and I'm like, I'm waking up to my
Fallibility.
yeah, my humanness, my not perfect, not being in control. Yeah, worry around that because if I'm not in control, I'll do the wrong thing. I'll do,
Mm.
I'll mess things up.
It's interesting how that control thing seems to permeate everything almost. Mm.
As I talked about being sick of this and sick of that, and you said disgust and just contemplating it, that the whole area of the body just relaxed a little bit. It was like, ah, you're listening now.
You're hearing now. Yeah. So it's just this stuff really excites me. It's like, isn't it interesting and exciting how many stories exist inside other stories, exist inside everything, and all of those things are attached to feelings and reactions, and what an incredible soup this is that we are. It's just amazing.
Yeah, I mean, it feels truer to say, like, instead of saying I'm disgusted with anything out there, it's more appropriate maybe to say I'm disgusted with myself.
What if you change that into there is disgust? Which is not right in itself because it's not a thing, is it? But there is this experiencing of something that we label as disgust. That's closer to more accurate, isn't it? And when you
Yeah,
say I'm with myself, it's like, oh, that's a light shining on it from the outside towards inside through this filter of disgust.
well, it's like what the way my mind is putting it all together now is that, you know, I've I've made decisions or I've allowed things to happen that were for a reason that may be like to keep a relationship happy and not rock the boat and out of fear of something changing. But then what I've allowed, and it could be something as mundane or simple as just too many pets that then I'm disgusted with the consequences and what I have to put up with. So this sort of trying to get your life into alignment for you as opposed to for other people, and not doing that is causing me to feel
Yeah, separate from.
boundaries and what I want versus what other people want. And I'm reminded of Marius talking to me about kind of you know, your life and where it's going or what it's about and how it might change, you know, for it to be right for you, as opposed to bending in boundaries because of fear of relationships being damaged or other things going wrong. So you forsake yourself to keep other things intact, and then who are you then? You're disgusted with yourself for not having your own, standing on your own 2 feet, living things the way you want to live, having things the way
Right.
you want to have them.
So did you hear what you just said? And you're
I hope
disgusted
so.
with yourself?
Annoyed with myself is probably,
So annoyance is easier to cope with than disgust?
yeah, I don't know, disgust just feels more explosive or more.
Mm, yeah. Now, of course, this is a big one, and the idea that if this is what's going on for you, that has to be different to fix it. And so does that mean you have to shift a boundary somewhere, or do you have to put your something over, more important than somebody else's desires or that
Yeah,
kind of thing? Yeah.
I think that's where we're. It's funny how we're talking about this now, but in this moment, it's about having boundaries for myself that I want in place that I probably never had in place growing up because of the way I grew up and the dynamics. So boundaries is an issue, and to start having boundaries and whatever consequences comes with that comes with it. But that's what's maybe needed. Um,
So here's a big one that I have to thank Elad for, and that is the recognition of what it is that we really want. And this is a tricky one because we want to make it a binary thing. What I want is such and such, nice and clear. But the reality is what I want includes what I don't want. And I can want and not want at exactly the same moment. They can both coexist beside each other with equal strength, if you like. And so I want this, but I also want to not want this if I think the consequences of this is that somebody else will suffer as a result. So it's a complexity that there's no answer for, isn't it? Isn't it? There is no way out of this. So you get what you want, somebody else doesn't get what they want, and then that puts you in a situation of feeling responsible or feeling unhappy about that. So there's no clear answer with this boundary thing. It's a tricky one. The juice for you, the value for you, is in recognizing clearly what it is you want, not doing anything about it, but seeing it. And then what will happen in the moment it's seen is the whole thing will change. It will reframe itself just because you see it. So when you recognize that, for example, that dog shit isn't really the issue, it's representative of the issue, and the issue is something else. And it just gets triggered when you see dog shit or too many dogs or whatever that situation is.
well, it goes back to control. If I trace it back, I can story it back to, oh, you shouldn't have done this or shouldn't have got another dog or that. But that's not it. It's because that's all happened. It's control.
Mm,
I don't want that to happen. I don't want it to be that way.
yep.
Then I think, oh yeah, but we've no control. But that's still just a concept. So
Mm-hmm.
until I see that, there's no point in just saying that.
Yeah. So is it seen that it's just a story that says if I had control, things would have happened differently? Because that story exists inside the story that it's already happened.
No, I don't have that story. If I had control, it would have been done differently. Uh, it's more of a frustration that I don't have control.
Oh, well, there you go. So you never fix that frustration because you're never going to have control.
So how do I resolve this so I can be happy?
No, you can't. You're fucked. Uh,
Yeah, I really, there really is nothing wrong. Everything that's wrong is a story that you're telling yourself.
Yeah, but right now, like, and again, it's back. There's a knot. There's a sensation. There's a feeling in the chest,
Uh-huh.
and then there's a story added. And whatever that story is, I've told a few stories there earlier about what it is and what it isn't. Well, the thing I'm just asking again. The thing to do is just to sit with that
What,
sensation
yeah.
and
What if it never goes away? Can you just sit there and be okay with the fact that it may never ever go away? You already know you're not in control. You know you don't have a say.
yeah,
So
I
just
don't think I'm
watch it.
okay with that.
And you'll be okay with the fact that you're not okay with it.
It's connected to the physicality of moving and living and being active and feeling less and less able to stay fit and stay mobile and stay, healthy. And anytime I try to get active, the heart kicks off again, and I'm afraid then to do anything in case I have an issue. So it's like I'm okay with it not, but I'm not okay with not being able to live an active life.
You cut out there for me for just a second. You said, what did you say about the active life?
Not being able to live one, that's what I wouldn't be okay with.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's like it's trying to get me to stop and it's doing everything in its power to get me to stop. Like I'd love to go running again and get back up to running and 5K. And I used to run and ran a marathon, but it's like, no, if I try to do any of that, it's like, no.
But your doctors have
Yeah.
said it's okay.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
You got kids, Dennis?
Yeah, for 5 kids, yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot going on in life too with the family and kids, and
Hmm.
I'm dealing with an issue with my brother. I'm trying to get him into a treatment program, which I've been trying to do for a little while now, and that's bringing up a lot of stress and a lot of memories from my other brother who died 20 years ago. Um, so there's a lot in going on in life at the minute too. There's a lot of people kind of leaning on me and needing things from me. Um,
so there's no time for yourself.
there is, but I don't use it well.
I feel like this is the disgust.
Yeah, I thought that straight away too. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like I'm wasting my own time.
Love yourself. How love yourself. How do you love yourself? There's a You're so worthy of love. It's so obvious.
No, no, he's a disgusting individual.
Yeah, Yeah, no, I laugh at Vince's joke, but when you were saying that, it's quite hard to take. It's
What is? That you're
you love
lovable?
yourself, and you love yourself, and you're deserving of love.
Oh, it's extraordinarily clear.
Yeah. So what comes to mind here is what was your father's attitude about that? Was he a bit of a stoic
His attitude to showing love,
or being lovable?
no, yeah, I wouldn't have said I felt loved at all. Um,
No, no. What was his attitude about himself? What did you think he thought about that?
oh,
Did
he
he
had no time
seem
for that. No, he had no
sorry?
time for that. He had
No
no
time for
time
that.
for that.
Yeah. Okay.
I could
Okay.
say now, as an adult, he never loved himself,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
felt like he was never loved by his
Right.
mother, let's say. Um,
Right. Yeah. So isn't this a bit of what you're describing in yourself as well? Oh, what was that head shake about?
yeah, we were taken care of physically, but that emotional love and care, that just wasn't there. It was an unstable environment a good bit of the time. Um, he was a drinker, all that goes along with that, growing up in a family like that.
Hmm. So would it be accurate to say all of which you're trying to do differently, but the pull is to be the same?
Yeah,
Not, yeah,
it's like I've been running from a, a, a way of being that I don't want to be that way, but it
yeah, yeah,
feels
yeah,
lately throughout this process that I'm being sucked more and more into that
yeah, yeah,
negative behavior, or what I was trying to avoid is kind of sucking me back in, and
yeah,
um, I'm becoming him in a way, or parts of
yeah,
him and parts of other pieces. That's
yeah.
frightening.
So I get that the natural reaction would be a resistance to the dad in you, let's put it that way. But I immediately think, oh, he needs love. He needs you to love. You need to love the dad in you for it to relax and allow you to be the way you, there's your boundary thing, the way you want to be. It's easy. He needs understanding, and that will soften him. He'll melt with understanding the dad in you.
Yeah, you just saying that's melting something a little bit. Because I was being hard on myself even earlier on, thinking about my youngest and what I'm not doing right and what I'm concerned about, and having too much phone time. And I'm like, okay, I'm not doing this right. We could get this one wrong. We need to fix this now, and start doing stuff. And I'm getting frustrated and annoyed. And
Dennis, I don't know. I just had a
yeah,
question come to mind. So, do you know who you want to be? Do you know what kind of being you want to be? Like, I hear like what you don't want to be. Do you ever think about what you do want to be, how you want to be?
yeah, I do think about how I visualize myself in the in the near future. Let's say, um, I have an idea, but it's an idea. It's an aspiration where I'm you know, I have a good life balance. I'm happy. I'm healthy. I'm physically able, strong, um, available for my family, available for my children, and anything that comes after that to be.
Have you ever considered that maybe that's happening already?
Yeah, but I think a lot of it for me is tied up in the physicality of the body and being fit and healthy and, you know, an ideal weight and strong. And I know I was like that for so much of my, into my mid 40s, let's say. Um, but it feels like I was running on fight or flight my whole life, and the body's just saying now, I've had enough.
Would you say the body's setting boundaries?
Yeah, yeah. I'm always reminded when I like, it's just come to me again. It's come to me a few times over the last couple of months. Ajay used to talk about his stuff, and he was put in bed for a year and then put in bed again for months when he was, and it feels a little bit like the body's just saying stop.
Mm,
Like I wake up
yeah.
tired. So the mind just keeps interpreting it like, oh, you're
Mm,
fucking dying.
mm. Well, I think we've poked the bear sufficiently for today, for now, with you, Dennis. I think there's a huge amount of stuff there that can get integrated. I feel kind of excited that some discoveries occurred.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of heat and movement around my chest and back.
Mm.
Thanks for the prodding and poking, guys.
Oh, thank you. You make life so interesting.
Did I come on at the right time? Did you start at 10, Vince, or have you been on a while?
Now I've been on for 1 hour and 14 minutes.
Oh,
Yes. So yeah, you came on at pretty much the right time. I think maybe a couple of
I
minutes
did, I
late.
did, yeah, I did, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah,
yeah, I just wanted to check. Yeah, okay.
yeah. If you're ever worried, go to the website and look at the countdown timers. They
Yeah.
work well. Yeah. Thank you, Dennis. Good night, Louise. Sounds like it should be a song, doesn't it? Good night, Louise. Hmm. So Dan and Joe and Dennis, all of you, everybody. Thing that's kind of been a little active for me lately, for the last couple of weeks actually, is how simply coming to these meetings can be a way of creating a self. If we come with the idea that we're going to get something from coming, we create a self. So then the question becomes, is it possible, or, well, I guess, yeah, it is. That doesn't sound quite the way I mean it, but is it possible to be here without a self being here? And another way to put that would be, can it be just a happening?
I would say, yeah. I would
Mhm.
say I've come sometimes, as you say, with a self, and by the end of a meeting, just by listening to other people's stories, and most people's stories resonate to some degree, and you can relate, that there's less of a self when you leave. You know, it's yeah, things dissolve a little bit. And I've noticed, like, months back, you know, really looking forward to coming, and I definitely can relate that to maybe a self or selfing. And there's been times when I do not want to come to these meetings, and I'll find myself at them.
Hmm. And that I do not want to come is also creating a
Mhm.
self. In fact, a very strong self idea, illusion of, idea of, sense of.
Mhm.
Feeling into what you said there, Vince. I don't really have language for it right now, but
Hmm.
I certainly have some kind of knowing that be here without that self.
Yeah. So it seems to me that what happens, yeah. So I really get with you. I'm with you on that language doesn't work thing. So much so, there's so much of this stuff happens at a subtle level. But yeah, I kind of want to say something along the lines of, in daily life, there's a celebration when things happen where a recognition of a creation of a self occurs.
Mhm.
Can you say that again, Vince?
So just in normal everyday daily life, chop wood, carry water stuff, you know, things will happen where it's the body will send a message to the brain, kind of thing, that a self a self was created.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right? When a contraction happens, that is you generally it'll be a protective kind of
Mm-hmm.
sensation, right? And that what I'm protecting is this idea of a self. You know, the ego gets triggered. And so, and daily life makes these offerings from time to time. It just seems that certain things happen, and that happens.
Mhm.
There's wonderful appreciation for that when it occurs.
From time to time, I find that it's like almost nonstop, or I mean, it's very frequent. I mean, certainly less and less as time goes on, and certainly periods of none of it happening for a while. But yeah, it's pretty regular for me.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah. And I have this frequent story that comes up that says, I wonder if it'll ever get to the point where there's none. And then another story comes along and says, that's bullshit. Of course, it'll never happen. You know,
Right.
it'll always go on. Yeah.
Right. And of course, the
But who
one who's
knows?
thinking about,
Yeah.
and of course, the one who's thinking like that is also another one of these.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. Who wants to know?
Mm.
Yeah.
It's very much like a living thing, I find. Like you can't write something down and remind yourself the frame to have going, look at it every morning and take that frame up. That's not, the mind will burn the hell out of that in a couple of days, right? It's very much an organic living thing, I find.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Can you give examples of how self is created in daily life?
Let me try and find an actual happening.
I was sitting at the tea shop today and a pretty young woman came in, and all of a sudden an insecure Dan who would get rejected if he asked for her number showed up.
Yeah, one that comes to mind for me is way, way more subtle than that, but still there. And that was that when I got out of bed, you know, and it's still a bit dark this morning, and I'm thinking to myself, I'm going to make a cup of coffee to bring in to drink while I'm doing this meeting. And so I'm being quiet as I come out so I don't wake my wife. And I go to the coffee machine and I'm thinking to myself, oh God, this is a noisy machine. I'm going to wake her up for sure. I can't do it quietly. Will I not have a coffee rather than wake her up? But I decide, that I will have a coffee. And so I go to the coffee machine, and next thing this voice behind me says, well, will you make me one too? And the sense of relief that I'm not going to wake her up because she's already awake. Right there was the creation of a self. I am relieved. Yeah, it's pretty subtle, but nevertheless, it wasn't just relief happening. It was me that was relieved. And so I saw that connection to the me that was relieved. So there's a subtle difference
Mm,
between a me that was relieved and just relief happening.
can you say more about this difference? How
Well,
does it feel differently?
yeah, it was the body relaxing. That relief came as a relaxation,
Mm.
feeling. So
Uh-huh.
the bit that's really hard to put into words is that the difference between, well, there, okay, and so if I go back to 2 steps, the contraction the contraction that allowed the relaxation was where the me was. Right. So it was me that was concerned that I would wake her. It wasn't a relaxed recognition of there will be noise or not, and there will be somebody waking up. She will get woken up or not. It was that I will do the action that will create the noise that will wake her up. It was that connection to the doing. So it was
Oh,
a doing.
okay.
Yeah.
So if I understand correctly, but there was this self-protection in this.
Yes. Yeah. Which got it was experienced as a contraction. And then the
A
little
feeling,
wrestle.
a feeling of separation. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, yeah. I hadn't thought of it like that then, but yeah, that's true.
I mean, I literally think this happens dozens or even low hundreds of times a day for me.
Mm.
And as time goes on, or whatever, whatever, as
Yeah.
as my hair gets grayer, or as this hair gets grayer, I find that what ha the to me, I feel like the ego is the most elusive and potentially sophisticated creation in the universe. I mean, I mean, you can ask ChatGPT. It does think that the human mind is the most complicated and complex and intricate creation in the universe. Um, and it is the ultimate deceiver. And so there's no framework, there's no point of view or reference point or anything that you can maintain and get leverage on it. It's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. It's the most elusive thing in the universe. It invented the word illusion. It invented the word deception. It's not possible. But what does seem to occur is a heightened sense of some kind, like a smell or an aroma or a sense of contraction, some sort of sense tends to grow. And and just like when you figured out a schoolyard game, it's lost its interest for you. Like, you don't want to play it. You know how to win it every single time. It's just not fun anymore. Um, it's kind of like that. And as soon as you catch a whiff a little bit of selfing happening, it could be for one of 10 trillion reasons, or innumerable reasons. So then there is like a quicker and quicker release of the contraction, and then for periods, not even building of the contraction.
Yeah.
That's my experience.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good one. Yeah, that I got really excited there. I'm just blown away by the fact that this thing that we call the mind, that isn't a thing, it can't be bottled, no surgeon can find it, it doesn't exist physically in any way, shape, or form, is the basis that everything that we know is built on. So what's not physical creates what we see as physical. It's that mind loop that was just blew me away as you were talking there, Dan. That was just, whew. And if I listen back to those words I just said, it was a whole lot of mush, but I know what I meant. Yeah, it's that level of subtlety, that wordless level that occupies a lot of this mind or this awareness or this whatever it is. That I have no idea about what it is, but that wordless level, that subtle, and that's when I was saying that's why I'm a bit obsessed at the moment with this creation of the I, because it happens at that level of wordlessness that makes it really difficult to communicate.
This has been very important for me to hear. It's really appreciated. I'm noticing that sneaky desire to see that whole situation finished in this process.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's just it's very good for me right now.
Yeah.
It's a real reality slap. Boom. Okay.
Yeah. But it's already finished because it never started, and
Yeah.
it'll never finish, and all of that, yeah, at the same time. Mm.
I have a quick question, Vince, just because it keeps popping into my head.
Mm.
Is it normal, or is it just me, or it feels like wherever I am on this path, it's like I'm trying to sabotage my own life. I'm trying to, yeah, sabotage is the word I would use. Is it just me? Is this something that happens? Is it part of it? Is it not part of it?
Oh, very definitely it is. Yeah, and it's not just you; it's everybody all the time. Everything we've spoken about really talks about that. But that idea of sabotage is only that's halfway up the steps. Go down a step, and that sabotage is a protective thing. It's not sabotaging, it's trying to stop you from getting to where it's too painful.
Yeah, well, it feels destructive though.
Yeah. Well, it is at that level. It appears to be at that level. But see, this is something I said this I said to somebody I think it was the last meeting. I said something like, that I was a seeker for 45 years, and they said, well, fuck that. I'm not going to be doing this for 45 years. Yeah. But whatever you're going through, whatever it is that you're going through, it doesn't matter. You can write a million stories about what it might be that for everybody, this is a truth that as I see it. Whatever you're going through is exactly what you need to be going through. It is right for you, whether that appears to be destructive or objective, objective, obstructive anyway. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
It
right.
feels, yeah, it feels like it's kind of shocking to see it. It's like I'd rather be um a sick self than no self, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
Um,
And yet, down at a certain level, there'll be a part of you that's aching to be no self. Oh, can you imagine the relief there'll be when there's,
We'll
yeah?
we'll have a party, Vince. We'll have a party. You were going to say something, Dan.
yeah, I
So
mean,
that,
I think it's even further than that. I think the ego would rather the physical body die than itself die. E-
That's yeah.
even though it's not really real. Only in appearance, only in sensation. And of course, all growth. I mean, the other perspective here is like all growth is painful in some way. Kids get growing pains. The growth of having a child grow and leave the house, that's painful, but it's growth. I mean, all growth is painful in some way.
Yeah, you're right. I was only talking to my eldest daughter about the pain of watching all my children grow from babies to kids to teenagers to adults, and the death of all the children gone before. Like those children are gone. They're all 12 and upwards and up into 20s. So, and it's that loss and constant change. Painful. Yeah.
can,
Mm,
can you appreciate, Dennis? What come to mind immediately for me is that there's no possible way your dad would have ever been able to have that conversation with his daughter.
mm.
But you did. What your heart is
Yeah.
aching for just happened. You just described it, a happening of that.
Yeah, no, I know. I was talking to her about this, and I was talking to her about the fact that we have kind of conversations, and sometimes I'll slip into dad mode where I'm right and I know everything, and you're just to listen, and then I'll slip into a different where we're just having a relationship as two humans and talking
Yeah,
about life and things like that. So I am
yeah.
aware of the
Dennis mode.
roles.
Mhm.
What I was pointing at was that what you what you ache for already exists. Maybe not permanently. It comes and goes, of course, as you're just saying. But
Yeah.
what you're reaching for is well within your grasp.
I
Bud,
also have two. Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Vince. Go ahead.
no,
I was
go
going to take us in a
on.
different direction. I was going to take a different direction. Go ahead.
I forgot what I was going to say now, so you go.
All right, all right. Just like two things that are really like important to me that have just come up in just like the last couple of seconds here or minutes is another perspective rather, another perspective. And like my kids are 11, 14, and 17. So I know what you mean. And I just saw a baby today when I was leaving that tea shop, and I just like I ached. I ached. I mean, I just ached. But I also feel that when my eldest turned 4 to 5 and then to 6, it wasn't that the 6-year-old was replacing the 5. I mean, I think the 5-year-old's still in there. I think the 2-year-old's still in there. And I still have all of those inside of me, and I know that because when I interact with an 8-year-old, I'm 8 years old, you know? So that's just another perspective to have there, 'cause, you know, like all stories, they're only true from one perspective and only when you're holding that perspective. It doesn't there's not an ultimate truth there. No matter how many times you've told yourself something, there's not an ultimate truth there.
No, you're
And then
right,
the
Dan.
other
You're right that, yeah.
yeah, the other thing I just wanted to mention is, like, there were there were some things that my father didn't give me, and for a while, you know, at one point I became aware of them, and then I proactively was giving those things to my kids. And then it dawned on me, you know, because you know, yeah, whatever. It dawned on me that the reason my dad didn't give those to me is because he didn't get them. And maybe that's not always the case, but I think it's often the case. So I started giving these things to him. And that
Yeah.
was very transformational. And it doesn't really matter, I would say, whether they're still alive or not. You can still give it to them. I don't know if your father's still alive, but that's not what this is about. Part of this whole experience is realizing the oneness of all.
Mm. Yeah,
Yeah,
I get that.
Dan,
Yeah.
yeah, I do. My dad, obviously, he is still alive, and I've been doing that the last few years as well. I support him a lot. I talk to him a lot about things. I help him. I'm in a way taking on that role, and yeah, I do that with him because I don't have animosity or, you forgive, and you realize everyone's doing their best, and you love them for who they are, and you support them as they get older, and you become like the parent in a way. Uh, and that really, my heart skipped a beat when you said about the story I was kind of holding there about the death of, whereas it's not true. There's a million ways of describing a situation, and your one is another way of layers. I can see the Russian dolls, and yeah.
Hmm, hmm.
Maybe this chaotic nature of life at the minute is a good sign that I'm not able to kind of grasp onto my 12 good thoughts or beliefs that seem to structure my life, that everything is slipping away, and it feels chaotic and out of control and dangerous and destructive. But
Mm. I just feel great love for you at the moment, Dennis. I would. Uh,
it's nice to hear, Vince.
yeah. I wanted to say something along the lines of I would love to have you as a friend. You know, but it's so stupid to say that. But you know, that's kind of I feel I just you're just a wonderful person. I love you. I do.
I thought we were friends.
Good. We are. Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
That's a funny thing you'd say that, because I was listening to somebody a while back, and an Indian woman talking about this sort of stuff, and she said, we have this idea of what a friend is, someone you've known 30 years, and if you have 5 friends or whatever this stuff. She says you meet someone at the bus stop and you're talking to them for 5 minutes. That's your friend for 5 minutes. Something else for a week is your friend, or we have these fixed ideas about what a friend is, but you can have lots of friends. Whereas I wouldn't have held that view at all. I'd be like, God, I've very little friends, one, maybe two. And then there's a whole story around that. Then when she said that, I was like, yeah, like you can have different friends in different scenarios for different lengths of time.
Mm. Yeah, that's a good one. I like that because I also would say I don't have very many friends, but I'm friendly to everybody, and everybody's friendly to me. But friends, we're talking about some level of intimacy, I suppose. But then when you say that, I realise that yeah, I have that all the time. There's frequently moments of
Yeah.
great intimacy. Yeah. You give it and you get it. You get it because you give it, I think. Oh, well, yeah, I think so.
Well, for me, one of the biggest things this group, Vince, does, and I know you were talking about the group and coming on, and you've questioned the group before. For me, it's been a real opportunity to be honest and vulnerable and kind of go where you don't want to go, where, you know, in a public forum to a degree, and being honest and saying what's on your mind or on your heart, and then to have that mirrored back to you as you're not the only one, other people are experiencing it. Yeah, that's the way it is for a lot of people. That has been so powerful to have that space to share. It's like when someone described a marriage to me years ago, it's when two people can come together and be, the worst version of themselves, the most open, vulnerable, broken part of themselves, and the other doesn't reject them for it. And that's what I feel like this is.
Yeah, yeah. And it's amazing how powerful it is and how remote it seems to be for lots of people. Yeah. I mean, I get that. So here we have what 3, 6, 9 people, 10 people here at the moment, and yet this video will get watched by over 100 people. And so those people that are watching it that never come still, I imagine, resonate with this exact what you were saying, this openness, this ability, this and not ability, this opportunity to be vulnerable and spontaneous and authentic. I suspect that that's what people are getting out of it when they watch it, more than details about what is spoken about, just the fact that it's spoken about. But I don't know, that's just my imagination too. I have no idea what really goes on.
Thank you for the conversation today, everyone. I'm going to take my leave, but I'm looking forward to coming back. Not
Good on you,
not
Joe.
sure if I'll be
Thank
back
you.
this week,
Yeah,
but yeah, I'll be back.
whenever. Yeah.
Yeah,
And
very
thank you
much
for being
appreciated.
part of this. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you.
No.
Bye all.
Well, if somebody else doesn't turn their camera on and talk soon, we'll wind up.
I'll just jump in and say, Dennis, you know I love you, and I've loved what you've shared this last year. All of it, the struggle, all of it. And you've been a wonderful teacher for me. And that's all I got, guys. I've been cleaning out a disgustingly dirty dishwasher that had all sorts of things growing inside of it. So I am looking like a washerwoman right now, but I'm detailing this thing. It is going to be spotless by the time I'm done, but not camera worthy.
Yeah.
Thanks, Phoebe.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I can't
it feels
believe.
like. Go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
It's just you made me reflect on it. It feels like a real low point for me right now. Little memories of other talks and discussions, up to a year ago. Feels like I was a completely different person, and now I'm right in the, well, as Vince would say, my moo mantra is I'm fucked. Yeah.
Well, hold on. Hold on. I'm trying to one-handedly unhook a dog there. Well, but seeing you in this place, this really raw, vulnerable place, that's the greatest gift. That's the single greatest gift, is when anyone on this forum shares their vulnerability and their rawness and their struggle.
And it's not just the great gift for those witnessing it. It may not be felt to be a great gift for those experiencing it, but it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like saying you wanted life, well, this is life. And it was like for so many years there was a disconnect, sort of living in the head, a disconnect from everything, emotional feeling. No, it's not constant, but it felt that way. And to feel and to be fully alive is messy and painful and everything else in between.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to feel, but not this.
Yeah. But I don't know who was saying it. I don't know if it was Dan, but someone was talking about loving this part that you're trying to shut away, like really loving it and giving it. What Pernilla would say is, I'm that too. I'm that too. It's not all of who you are, but it's part of who you are. And it wants to be included. It wants a place at the table.
Yeah. I'm saying to myself, love the bad parts too.
I just had an image of this banquet table like in the old movies, but where there was about 55 people sitting around the table, and every one of those people is a part of you. There would just be innumerable people that are attending the same dinner all the time.
Yeah, it feels like as a human or a person, there's such a vast range of possibilities from, you know, from angelic to demonic and everything in between. And to deny any of it is
Yep.
very limiting.
Yeah. Yeah, that banquet table even had some kids down the other end that were throwing food at each other.
Mm.
He's here. I'm just finishing up here.
Yeah, there are, you know, the Buddha said there is no stable abiding self. There, you know, that's a perspective. There are innumerable pieces of you, and to deny any of them, to deny their existence is certainly denying a part of yourself. You That's clearly seen. And they all just want to be loved, not berated. You think about one of your kids who's not cleaning his room, and you go and you're getting angry at that person. You're just helping that person define themselves as a messy person. They want to be loved. If you know, they want to be loved and accepted for what they are. It doesn't mean that they won't change. It doesn't mean that they can't change, but you're still loving them for exactly what they are right now. And that goes for each and every single part of you. And the more you love it, the more it feels accepted, the more it is, you know, the more it actually does change, kind of seems to be the way it plays out. I mean, I was a
Yeah.
kid who was, sorry.
No, go on then.
I was, Dan was a kid who got, you know, yelled at and told he was a piece of shit and always made mistakes and just wasn't any good. And that just allowed him to define himself that way. And then when choices came up to act in in a positive way or a negative way, he was already defined in that way. So it was easy for him to pick the not so good way so more often. Um, but what he needed was to be loved and accepted and not put in a box and not told exactly what he was. or what he was apparently.
So I just had a little, I don't know how to describe it, little movie played, I suppose. And it was like when I got up from that banquet table I was imagining with all of those aspects of myself as complete people sitting around it, various ages, various attitudes, various whatever, the innumerable pieces, right? But I saw them all as complete. And that when I got up to go back out into the normal world, I collected up every one of those people, those complete people, back inside this one apparent one that went out and operated in the normal world, that did the chop wood, carry water stuff. But it was that now, instead of there being pieces that made up a whole, there was hundreds of complete people inside this one person that was operating as though they were one person. But of course, they were everybody, including those kids that were throwing food.
Yeah, that's a lovely analogy, Vince. When you were saying that, I was thinking about my own scenario and kind of looking each one in the eye and saying, you know, you have a right to be here. You're loved,
Yes,
and then
absolutely.
popping them all back in.
Yeah.
But to see them, you have to put them all out. And okay, there's angry, whatever. There's this, you know, there's everything's
Yeah.
in there.
Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah.
Yeah, and each of these components, or each of these individual cells, or whatever you want to call them, they didn't they were conditioned to be that way.
Absolutely.
Something happened, some experience, some repeated experience, something caught no one made a choice. There was no choice. It happened
Yeah.
to them.
They're all allowed, all legitimate. Ah, there are no illegitimate children involved. And none of them fixed. Every one of them is in constant change. And I don't know why I keep focusing on those kids down the other end that were throwing food at each other, but when they're accepted and when that's okay, it changes. It's not that they stopped throwing food; they just did it a lot less and did it with a different attitude because they were loved for who they are, what they are. I'm enamored with story at the moment. I'm just loving the how story can transmit something in a way that nothing else can do it as well. I'm just loving it.
Yeah, Vince, when you told your, I'm gonna call it your short story about your coffee and your wife, I don't know what way it hit me, but it was like you just described a full movie in a few seconds. Like emotionally, the whole thing was like, there's a movie in the making. And the relief when she said, "Are you making one for me?" It just hit me like someone threw a book at me.
And when you're saying that, Dennis, wow, it just emotion welled up here really big time. That was just so lovely. Thank you. Well, whatever. It was great.
And there
Yeah.
was something about the piece where your wife said, "You're making one for me." There was so much in that. That's the turning point in the movie, and it just hit me like the whole thing was a movie, and it was just a whole arc, and then there was the relief and true love, and it just struck me so strangely. It was like fucking hell.
Yeah,
It was like,
yeah, yeah. I want to compose the background music for that moment now. That was.
It was beautiful. I mean, I agree. I think it was beautiful. I think the care, the love that you showed for her was beautiful. And then the fact that she wasn't pissed at you that you woke her up, even though that's what you were concerned about, I thought was also beautiful. You know, yeah, she was grateful to see you.
yeah, we forget how lucky we are. Someone was saying the other day that it's not that we're unwilling to feel our pain or our sadness. It's there's more of an unwillingness to feel happy and okay. It's like that's not okay.
Mm,
Well, there's a evolutionarily caused situation that like 80% of our thoughts are negative. Those early man, all of those who feared the worst when they heard a crack of a
Right.
stick in the woods, they're the one, you know what I mean? So there is a genetic predisposition to that kind of thinking. However, you know, our our lived experience has become a lot safer, exponentially compared to the flatline software that we're still running, or essentially flatline software.
mm, yeah, yeah. The classic is that. See you, Paul. The classic is that I get a couple of newsletters. One is called Fix the News, which is a newsletter that comes every week that gives me a whole lot of good news stuff, all these things that have happened, that you never ever hear on the news, So it's the media, without even realizing it, probably. I don't believe they do it consciously, but they hooked into stories of that stick cracking in the background. And so we're always they excite our survival mechanism, and that gives us a feeling of being alive. And That's what it is. And there has been a news channel that just wanted to deliver good news, and they went broke really quickly.
Yeah. Yeah, I think a lot of people are, you just reminded me, a lot of people are worried about what's going on at the minute. Trump and Iran, and just even one of my daughters said to me today, are you worried about that? And I'm like, oh, straight away I knew she was worried because she'd picked something up somewhere.
Yep, it's a big one. And yet, one of these newsletters has told me really quite recently that right at the moment there are less wars going on than has ever happened before in history, even though we've got these big things in the news all the time. And isn't it interesting how we haven't heard of Ukraine recently, you know, because we've got these other more exciting things to focus on.
Actually,
We
I was
haven't
listening
even,
to a guy today talk about that, and he thinks there's a deal coming quite soon. It's just around the borders and where they draw the line, but everything else is it's it's about to be hopefully resolved, that one. But
It's just in
Trump is
time
the
for the next.
yeah, yeah, it's crazy stuff, crazy. Accepting that it's not logical is a big part of coming to terms with it, I think. Doesn't make sense.
was
None of it makes sense.
it was really interesting watching the press release today from the Pentagon. And what really struck me was how excited the guy was about how really well the whole thing went. They were like bursting with joy and the excitement of how exceptionally brilliant what happened was. Like they were like kids describing something amazing. I was just struck by that.
Mm, yeah, yeah. It is like watching kids play, and some of kids are going to fight, and some kids are going to cooperate, and some kids are going to be by themselves, and everybody's got their own way of doing it. But it's like watching a big playground of kids, isn't it?
Well, yeah, it's so stark, the differences. Like sometimes you see people in positions of negotiation or power, and they're very mature and balanced and considered and adult like. And then sometimes you see, like, Trump is the obvious example of someone in power who's like a child. And you're like, how do these people get there? Sure, the greater we put them there.
Mm, yeah. And it's amazing, but recently that's come to my attention is that there's a huge number of people in Israel and there's a huge number of people in America that protest against what's going on, and yet they paid no attention. So the hawks can be a minority and still have precedence over all these other people that want peace and good stuff.
An informed electorate We have not.
Yeah. Well, what I'm saying is that even those that are somewhat informed don't have much sway. The ones that are ill-informed are very loud and very
Oh yeah,
yeah.
that too. That too.
But as you're describing it, it's like what I was talking about that's happening with me on a personal sort of one person human scale is exactly what's going on a geopolitical global scale. It's the
Yeah,
same fucking thing, but
yeah.
it's just worldwide.
I have found the parallels to be uncanny.
Hmm.
I mean, and actually, it makes perfect sense. Um,
Yeah.
but
There's one little step that can happen, Dennis, and that is that you see that it's not just a, a reflection, it's not just a parallel, but it is what is actual, and that it is you. All those kids throwing food at each other are really countries throwing bombs at each other. There's no difference. They're all in you. It's not that you just reflect them or they reflect you. It's that they are you and you are them. But it's a little step,
Yeah,
but it's a huge step. But it's a little, just yeah,
yeah, no, you're right. It's a truer statement that I'm witnessing me on a
mm,
global scale.
yeah,
And but then I get into that sort of, well, am I creating the whole thing? And
well, are you
I know it's
responsible?
created. Well, you create. Well, it feels like you're okay. I don't know if I'm doing it, but it's like, well, I'm giving him meaning. Like if I say he's an asshole, he's not actually an asshole. I'm creating the assholeness here and giving it to him,
Yeah,
or I'm revealing myself.
yeah. So like, yeah. So I can look at Trump and I can feel absolute disgust. I can feel revulsion at the sound of his voice, right? But I can also look at him and go, you know what? He can't help that. That's the way he's been
Mhm.
brought up. That's what his conditioning is, and I can do that equally. So when I step back and I can see both those things happening, I can see them just as stories. But guess what? I can see that. How can I appreciate that he's an idiot, or how can I appreciate that he's just a conditioned being without having experienced that in myself? I can't.
right,
Mm, mm, mm.
yeah,
Yeah, that's an important point. I think we said it earlier. The spectrum of our capabilities or possibilities, we're all capable of being a Trump or doing Trump-like things. It's how we can see it in him because we know it in us.
Yep. Yeah. That's a big one. That's huge. And it's not that we want that to excite a suppression or an elimination or anything like that. We want, you know, the answer to that is love.
Yeah, yeah. Instead of saying he's stupid, I can say I've been stupid sometimes, and that's okay.
Yep.
yeah. And the next time you have an aggressive thought or an angry thought, or about yourself or about someone else, I wonder if it'll ring a little different. I think it will for me.
Yep. Yeah, me too. There's just that slight opening where I can squeeze a toothpaste of love into through that crack at it now. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. You just pick up the whole universe and just hold it, all of mankind, and just hold it as a baby,
Yep.
as a child, and love it.
Yep. And sometimes it'll be a screaming, crying, angry child, baby, and other times it'll be laughing and giggling and really joyful.
And it's going to shit its pants.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Mhm.
Mm. And I'll be honored to honor its helplessness and clean it up.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, this has been a beautiful conversation, folks. I'm gonna
Yeah.
peel
Okay.
off.
I think we'll all go. Thank you for that. Thanks, Dan. That's been really great. Yeah.
Good night, everyone.
See you guys.